Thank you for checking out KMK. This is Dr. Kyle Cheatham, and you're on our KMK homepage at kmkoptometryboardcertification.com. Now, I want to tell you about our two main products, the live courses and the online courses. We get a lot of questions about the differences between these two. And first of all, for the live courses, this is going to include a textbook and all the online resources on this website, as well as live COPE-approved CE. The online courses are very, very similar. You get a textbook, you get all the online resources, and you get the lectures. Instead of in a live setting, you get the lectures online, and you can watch them as many times as you want. So you're not missing anything by doing the online course, and it's slightly cheaper, $75. It's just not COPE approved CE. So let's take a look at our program here. When you register on our website, you're going to get a username and password, and you can plug that in the upper right-hand corner. And as soon as you plug that in, you're going to have access to a Members tab that's going to pop up on your screen in just a second. And one other thing to keep in mind is when you register for the course, you're immediately going to get a textbook that's sent to you via UPS. And the textbook, the main thing I want you to understand is the textbook is verbatim covering the ABO outline. And so we're not using old CE lectures here. We're using verbatim exactly what's on the ABO outline. That's our passion because we want to be very test specific as a company. We want to cover the information that's relevant to help you pass this exam. And so here's an example of our index right here that covers verbatim on the outline, which we'll show you in just a little bit. But let's talk about our members. On the Members tab here, let's talk about the information that we've covered for you. First of all, we have a study timeline here. And this just gives you, and again, we're going to go through all these in more detail in a few minutes, but this just gives you an overview, not only of the exam that's on the ABO outline, on abopt.org, but also it gives you an overview of goals and deadlines we have set to help coach you along the process. We also have, as you scroll down here, you're going to see we're passing where it says RNFL analysis. Those are downloads like the OCT and the HRT to give you an understanding of additional items that we wanted to include to help you prepare that aren't necessarily in the text, but 99% of everything is in the text for you. The flashcards here, the mindset behind this was our passion behind all of these things on the member tab is that we understand that everyone learns differently. And the main thing I would tell you is that you need to know the book really, really well because the book covers the outline. But if you want to approach it differently in terms of having different resources to help you prepare, we have, for example, flashcards, which are very similar to note cards, where you, like one of them might say, what's the most common cause of cystoid macular edema? Then you flip the card and it'll say post-op cataract surgery and gives you an overview. We'll go over that in a minute. But that's our way of coaching you through the most important concepts in each chapter. The quizzes are exactly what it sounds like. It's a graded quiz that will actually grade it on the spot for you and give you immediate feedback in terms of your areas of strength and weakness. The lecture videos are lectures taped for you, and you can watch them as many times as you want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It allows you to pause and rewind and fast forward, and that allows you to review the material over and over at your leisure. The apps are applications for the Android, the BlackBerry, and the iPhone, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The audio cases are verbatim, very similar to podcasts. So our mindset here is that some docs don't have the time to sit in front of their computer and necessarily watch the videos, or maybe they don't like to read the book. They want someone to talk them through things. You can actually download this and listen to it on your way to work, for instance. So again, our mindset is to try and create a product that meets the needs of very busy practitioners because that's who we are. So let's talk about the book for just a minute here. If we pull up the textbook, again, a major thing I want to illustrate is that it's based entirely on the ABO outline. And so for instance, right here where it says contact lenses, you'll see that there's an A through F there on the ABO outline. That's straight from their website, the ABO website. And then here's our index in our textbook that covers those exact same items. Okay, but one thing to keep in mind is on the ABO outline, if you were to count how many topics there are a total of 317 total topics. But if you look here underneath the anterior segment, for example, M is a topic and N is a topic, for example. And M, it says corneal diseases, but obviously it doesn't tell you which ones. And so what we did is we researched the main textbooks in our profession, both in optometry and in ophthalmology, Will's Eye Manual, Kansky, Massachusetts Eye and Ear, and many others. Most of our textbooks will have 30 or more citations. And what we did is we looked at in these landmark texts and then made our own outline of what we thought were the most likely corneal conditions to be asked. So while this only takes up 2 items or 2 topics on the outline, we have 31 conditions that we're covering in our textbook on the cornea. And so there's 317 total topics, but over 1,000 easily number of items on the outline that we cover within our textbook. Okay, so let's go back to our members tab here, and we'll spend some time talking you through this in more detail if you'd like. So first of all, let's go to the study timeline here, and let's go to the recommended timeline. And you'll see here at the top that we have a general practice portion right here. It's just overviewing the exam. It says there's a general practice portion of 160 total questions. So as it says there, it spans 4 total hours and covers 10 different categories. So the 10 different categories are listed there for you 1 through 10. One of the most important things I think in passing an exam, a standardized exam, is you have to be really well organized and you have to have a plan. And the textbook will get you organized because it obviously covers the ABO outline. And so a lot of times when people try and prepare for exam, they spend many hours just trying to put everything in one place. And so what we've done with our textbook is get that done immediately right now for you. And so you're organized right off the bat. And secondly, you need to have a plan. And I think the plan needs to be based entirely off how the exam is set up. And so if you see here, there's 160 questions on the general practice and 80 on the areas of emphasis. And one thing that we'll go through a strategy. Once you register, you'll get to see more of this in detail. But right there, you can see that a third of the exam, 80 out of 240, is based on your area of emphasis. And so it'll give you some advice on how to pick an area of emphasis based on the ABO outline. But as you scroll down, you need to understand, again, in terms of your plan, how the exam's set up, but also about having deadlines that are concrete. For example, here it says March 15th, you should have these items done, or September 15th, depending on when you're taking the exam. So you need to have concrete goals, and that's what we've set up for you to help coach you along in the process. So that's the study timeline, and we have a recommended and an expedited. So if you like to procrastinate, we've tried to set that up for you as well. And as you scroll down here, we're going to go down to flashcards. And again, these are if I could sit down with you one-on-one and say, okay, let's look at cornea. Let's look at anterior segment, page 1. What's the most important concept on this page I think is likely to be asked? And then we pull it out and put it on a note card, so to speak, that's online for you. So this example talks about a patient who wakes up with pain immediately after opening their eyes. That's going to be a recurrent corneal erosion. So if you click here to view, it gives you that, and then it overviews how to treat, because that's what the question asked was, what is the condition and how do you treat it? So that's what flashcards are. We've done those for every one of the sections. So again, that's like a one-on-one tutoring session that we've set up. Again, all these things are available to you whether you're taking the live or online course, because everyone gets the online resources. So now if you go down to quizzes, these are again graded quizzes. So let's pick one here, and we're going to pick binocular vision, everybody's favorite subject, right? So as you click on here, you're going to actually take a quiz online, and we try to set this up as closely as possible to how the Prometric describes how their exam's set up. Again, Prometric is the agency that's running our exam for board certification. The ABO's set up. The ABO hired them to do this. And so if you look here on the quiz, you get the option to save, skip, or you can pull up a calculator, because you won't have a manual calculator. This is exactly how it's set up on the exam. So a lot of people have some concerns about taking an exam online, and this gives you a chance to practice that. So after you've gone through these, you'll see at the very end, after you're done taking the quiz, it'll give you an understanding of exactly how you did it immediately. So it grades it on the spot. So like in this example, I got a 4 out of 20. And if you scroll through here, it'll not only tell you the answer, it'll tell you how long it took to answer each question, and also gives you a note to kind of coach you along on why you may have gotten it right or wrong. Okay, so that's the overview on the graded quizzes, which we're excited about. I know a lot of practitioners haven't taken an exam in 20 or 30 years, or even longer in some cases, so this gets you back in the routine again. The lecture videos, I think, is one of my favorite aspects of the program, because it allows you to watch and learn at your leisure. We have had several doctors tell us that for, in some of these topics, it's been a while since they've seen them, so they'll actually watch it online and then pause it and then look at their book and take some time to think about it. Now, one key thing to understand about this is that the videos cover the textbook verbatim. So we'll actually tell you in the video, open it up to page 25 and we'll coach you through the chapter and tell you where on your book to look. We'll say circle this comment, write this in the margin. We're very specific about our instructions, but the key thing to understand is that the videos cover the book verbatim. So we talked about earlier how the book was the most important thing you need to know. So if you can use the videos to coach you through the book, that's the first place I would start when you're going through this program. So we also have apps, and as we talked about before, we have apps for the iPhone, the Droid, and the BlackBerry. This tells you how to download them, where to go, and remember the apps are for the flashcards. And so if you want to study the flashcards in between patients, for instance, and you have a smartphone, you can use this. A key thing I want you to understand is if you don't have a smartphone, don't worry about it. You're not missing anything because the flashcards we just showed you are obviously accessible online, and you can use those without a smartphone. So we also have supplemental documents that again are going to kind of overview some additional items that we've added to our online program for you. We have audio cases, which again are like podcasts. They're virtually the same thing, and you can download them and be able to listen to them on your way to work or while you're running or exercising. So we're trying to provide as much flexibility as possible. But the key thing, I don't want to overwhelm you with all these resources. These are all to provide flexibility in how you learn because we know everyone learns differently. The most important thing is that you know the book well, and all these resources were created to help the most important things in the book jump off the page at you. So we've got several different layers of the program, all created in the mindset of trying to provide for you the best possible way to learn based on the way you learn best. And lastly, I know this exam can be very anxiety provoking to people. In working with thousands of students over the years, one of the greatest joys for us is to really be able to help someone not only pass the exam, but to really understand the material well. And I think that's a key thing to understand is that no matter how they ask the question, if you really understand the concept, they can ask it multiple different ways and you're going to be fine. And so our passion is to make the material as clear as possible. And I think an important thing to remember is that these exams are typically, and this has been our experience in working with students, they're not an exam, it's not an exam of intelligence, but an exam of preparation. If you're organized and you have a plan, people normally do very, very well. And I think it's important to remember it's a process. As opposed to coming to a weekend course and then being done, what we believe is that by laying it all out for you, organizing it, and giving you a plan, and allowing you to study at your own pace with resources that meet varied needs in terms of how you learn the best, that's the best way to truly prepare someone for an exam of this magnitude. So we wish you the best of luck. We really want you to do well. Let us know how we can help, and we hope to have a role in that process for you.